In this video, we're going to be talking 6 of the most common beginner sort of mistakes to do with these baby leopard geckos. So before we get on to the video, I want to know in the comments down below, have you just got a new leopard gecko? What's its name? I love hearing everybody's really creative names that they come up with their leopard geckos. They're absolutely fascinating. They're not names that you'd normally give like a pet dog or a rabbit. They're just so unique and so amazing. I love them. Let me know in the comments down below what you've named yours. My name's Richard, this channel is called Northern Exotics and we deal with all things reptile related with the most up-to-date, latest information. We're not one of these YouTube channels that go around going, trying to entertain everybody. No, we're purely educational. So any new information that comes out, we pass it straight on to you guys. If that's something you're interested in, please hit that subscribe button. Now mistake number 1 is quite an easy one. It's substrate. That's what new people to the hobby would call bedding. The stuff that goes in the bottom of the enclosure. Now me personally, I don't use any for baby leopard geckos. However, for my adults, I do go up to a bioactive setting, which is a sand and soil sort of mixture. But for these, the risk of using any sort of sand or cocoa fibre is impaction. Impaction is where they ingest all of the sort of gubbins. Maybe they eat a bug off the floor and they take in a little bit of the substrate. It could quite easily block their intestines, their just anywhere inside. If they have a blockage, they can't pass waste. It just causes a lot of problems, which is going to cause a lot of vet bills and a lot of discomfort for your baby leopard gecko. How do we stop that? I personally just use newspaper, kitchen towel, paper towel, anything like that. That just works perfect for me. Now, some people argue that while they live in the wild where it's sandy and stuff like that, it's not sandy, it's rocky. If there is any sort of things that look like sand, it's normally really firm sand, compact sand, or compact onto the actual rock, so it's not loose. So they won't ingest it in the wild. From my personal experience, these are doing absolutely amazing growing up just on newspaper or paper towel. I do give them a few rough surfaces in their little enclosures to actually climb on and get a bit of enrichment, some cork bark and stuff like that. But for substrate, I don't use and I don't recommend a loose substrate as a baby. As they grow a bit older, yeah, I tongue feed mine that are in the bioactive enclosure, so that works perfectly fine for them. Number 2 is solely down to you as a keeper. Normally people that get baby leopard geckos are new to the hobby, totally new to the hobby, like have no experience whatsoever. They've done their research and stuff like that, but this is the first pet reptile they have and it's all new to them. Let's face it, this is nothing like one of the pets you'd have as a kid. So it's confidence. That is a massive key factor for you as a leopard gecko keeper, a new keeper. Now, confidence in what way? Well, yes, these do drop their tails. They can have the ability to totally drop their tail and regrow it. It will never look the same if they do drop it, but it will grow back. Now, people worry about dropping that tail. Well, you don't, as you can tell right here, I'm handling him perfectly fine. He's not going to drop his tail. You don't need to worry about that. The only reason he will drop his tail is if he's grabbed. If his tail is grabbed and pulled, then it will fly off. Or, in some other cases, it can come off in illness as well. Simply by just touching them like this, it's not going to drop off. The reason it does drop off is for the wild. Now, the mating ritual for some of the males, they'll stick their tail up in the air and wave it. Well, if a bird sees that, they'll come down, grab the tail, pick it up. These can drop that tail off and go running. But if the tail does drop off, it's not the end of the world. It's not a massive problem. Just clean the area really well. Let him settle back in for a bit. It'll be perfectly fine eventually. Some people might be saying, this dude looks really thin, he's got a thin tail. He's only 2 weeks old. I hatched him only 2 weeks ago, so he's actually doing really well for the age that he actually is. Number 3 is feeding. Normally when you get these really excited, you want to see them feeding, you want to do stuff. Keep in mind, these are nocturnal species, so they will only really feed at night time. Unless they're really hungry, they'll come out and have a nibble through the day. But people want to see them feeding, they feed them straight away and then get worried of, oh my God, why is my baby leopard gecko not eating? Well, it's quite simple. They need some time to settle in. You'll set their enclosure up and they don't know where the food is, they don't know where the water is, they don't know where the hot hide is, their cold hide. They have to sort of explore the area, find their little safe zones, find where their toilet's going to be, because 9 times out of 10, these will use one corner all the time, the exact same corner to go to the toilet. For feeding, just let them settle in for 2 days, maybe 3 days. That'll do perfectly fine. You can see he's a little bit jumpy. This is the first time she's ever been housed. You really do need to let them settle in and just get used to their environment. They don't need to be mithered, they don't need to be played with or anything like that for those few days. That's just a little bit of advice I do. Some people have had success from handling them straight away, getting them used to being handled and all that sort of stuff. Me personally, I just let them settle in for a few days. It's only a few days and he'll do perfectly fine. Look at him going.
But before we get on to the next one, we just want to have a huge shout out to our Patreon supporters. Without your support, we wouldn't be able to continuously keep educating people on all things reptile related. Thank you.
Then we'll move on to the next one. I am going through these quite quickly. I don't want to bore you with a stupidly long video. And I'm handling him just so you can see how easy it is to handle with the confidence. But number 4 is their enclosure. You don't want to give them an enclosure too big. A baby of this size won't do very well in a 3-foot enclosure simply because he's going to have to expel an awful lot of energy to explore that whole environment, try and figure out where his food is, where his hot hide is. If you keep it fairly small, fairly compact, he's got everything he needs in this little area, he will get used to that little area. As he grows, you can up the enclosure size perfectly fine. That's not a problem. But for now, just a nice small enclosure. For me, this baby, some people aren't going to like it, but this baby is actually in a little rub just like this. I moved it out of the way so that he didn't, if he did decide to jump, this is the first time he's being handled just like that, then he won't fall too far. As you can tell, he didn't fall too far at all then. So, a little small, come on mate, up you come. There you go. Moving back over here. So for me, this 9-litre rub does absolutely perfectly fine for him. It's got his hot hide in it, it's got cold hide in it, it's got moist hide in it, it's got a bit of cork bark in there to help him shed. It's just got all the little bits and bobs that he needs. He can easily find everything and he doesn't need to worry, he doesn't need to stress about finding everything. I can keep a very close eye on him. I've got newspaper substrate so that I can keep him clean, I can keep an eye on everything, and I can feel secure that he's not going to get impaction. As I say, this is only for while they're a baby, because I do breed these. This is one of the ones that I bred. The 5th one is handling, and this is how I handle him. I have never handled her before, ever. And as you can see, I'm moving slow, gentle, it's not jerky, I'm not vibrating, I'm not shaking, I'm not worried, I'm very confident, but I'm keeping him very, very low to the ground. Because if he does decide he wants to bolt, which they can do as babies, he's scared, he's stressed. But I've got to get him used to handling for his new owners. And it's all just a matter of taking your time. She needs to learn that you're not a threat. Give it a few days for him to settle in, then start handling them. The biggest problem with people, especially new to the reptile hobby, they think, oh my god, he's going to bite, he's going to bite. All he's done right now is just nudged his nose against me. If they do bite, a baby leopard gecko will not hurt. It's the shock factor of, oh my god, I've been bitten, that's going to scare you. And then you're going to scare her. She's not going to want to be handled again. It will not hurt getting bitten. Even if you've got an adult leopard gecko, it feels like you just ran your finger across a brick wall. That's all it feels like. It's just the shock factor of them going at it that actually does scare people. So it's nothing to worry about. You don't need to worry about getting bitten. It doesn't hurt. Confidence is key. Now, you notice I've not touched her tail. But she is rubbing her tail against me and stuff like that. I'm just being very slow and cautious. The tail will not drop off from just general handling like this. So you do this for 10 minutes every other day sort of thing, 10 minutes a day, whatever. She will get used to you not being a threat very, very quickly. And that is how you handle a baby leopard gecko. So the next one is shedding. Shedding is a big thing for these. They do shed really quickly and quite frequently as babies because they're growing animals. They need to shed. Their skin isn't elasticated like ours or like other mammals, so they can't just, their skin doesn't grow with them. They have to have a new skin. You'll see them go quite pale or white, opaque. That is them shedding. That's them, their body getting used to getting rid of that old skin and preparing new skin underneath it. There are some things you can do to help them through this process. In the wild, they'll go into a moist sort of cavern, a crack in a rock face, anything like that, and that will help them shed. The humidity in there helps them shed. So what can you do? You can add a humid hide into your enclosure. Now you can add it into the enclosure when you see them start to shed. Me personally, I have them in the enclosure the whole time. I'm going to put her back because she is getting quite antsy. And then I'm going to show you my moist hide. So I've got a number of baby leopard geckos. These are ones that I've bred up this year. I've sold a few, I've kept a few. This one I've kept simply because it does have a feeding problem. It has only just started feeding. I'll show you what I mean. She's the same age as the one you've just seen, and she's a hell of a lot skinnier. She's only done one shed. She's a bit more antsy. Obviously, she needs to clean out. You can see how scared she is and stuff, and you can see how confident I am just going in, working around her. But that is the moist hide. All that is a piece of damp paper towel inside, a hole cut out into the side of the tub. I've kept the lid on to keep the humidity in there, and I just leave it in there. You can use sphagnum moss, you can use cocoa fibre. Look at her down there getting scared. So she's getting scared. I'm going to put her
lid back. She is going to get fed today along with all of them and my cool little morning geckos.
You can pretty much use anything as a moist hide. Just a normal hide with a bit of sphagnum moss in there works perfectly fine. Anything that's got a bit of moisture in there, a bit of humidity, just to help them get out of that body. Now, you will never see the shed. You will never find the skin. You might see the odd foot kicking around here and there. That's not pretty normal. But what they do, they'll rub up against the surface, which is why I have cork bark or bits of bogs inside the enclosure, just to help them rub up against it. And once they've got that shed over their head, they will turn their head around and grab it with their mouth and just keep pulling it and pulling it and pulling it, but they will ingest it at the same time. Now, don't worry, that's perfectly normal. That old skin is full of nutrients that their body requires, so it's absolutely perfect, and we highly recommend that you just let them eat that shed, because it's perfectly normal. Again, they're nocturnal. They'll probably do it while you're asleep. You'll probably never see it. You'll probably just come up to it one day and, oh my God, look how bright and vivid he is. That's it, sorted. Now, occasionally there are a few problems with shedding. You might get a little bit of stuck shed on the end of a toe, on the tip of a tail, anything like that. Now, if that is a problem, you do need to get that off. Why do you need to get that off? If that shed constricts around that area, because again, that old shed can't stretch like our skin, so it's just going to constrict. And then as the animal grows, it's going to cut the blood circulation off to the tip of the toe or the tip of the tail, and it's going to fall off. And you don't want that, do you? So having a moist hide in there at all times means he can go and shed whenever he wants. Absolutely whenever he wants. It's perfectly fine. If you do get a bit of stuck shed on the toes, give them a bath with water that's only just deep enough to cover their toes. And then after about 20 minutes, make sure you keep an eye on the temperature of that water. You don't want it to get too cold. You don't want it to be too hot. Just get a Q-tip and rub it down the toe, and that works perfectly fine. Right, guys, that's everything here. If you have learnt anything, please hit the thumbs up button. I really appreciate everyone who does subscribe, does hit that thumbs up button, and does leave a comment down below. I'll reply to them all. Peace out.